Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited that you're here. I hope that you've been enjoying my soup, stews, and something cozy series because we're in episode 3. In this video, I want to share a week's worth of warming, cozy, fall-inspired breakfast ideas. Let's go ahead and get into this video. The next time you see me, we will be enjoying breakfast. So let's get into these fall-inspired breakfast ideas. So on Monday, I wanted to make mushroom gravy over buttery sourdough toast. I just feel like that was a great way to start the week, and it was easy to put together, which is one of the things I really enjoyed about this meal. For the mushroom gravy, I'm using finely diced yellow onions, some baby bella mushrooms, as well as plant-based crumbles for some added protein. I've made this with and without the added crumbles, and it was delicious both ways. So if you want to leave the crumbles out, you absolutely can. Just be sure to add more mushrooms in that case. So I cooked everything in a little bit of olive oil, and I seasoned it with salt and black pepper. We are going to add more seasonings to the gravy, so don't worry. But if you want to add additional seasonings to this, you absolutely can. I like to set the sausage-inspired mixture aside and then make the gravy because I found that it drastically changes the color of the gravy. And I still wanted this to be a lighter gravy. I started by making a roux, so I just melted down some dairy-free butter, added flour, and I just whisked that together until the color started to change a bit. And I cooked the roux for about 3 minutes. Then I added in some dairy-free, original, unsweetened almond milk. Just be sure that the almond milk or whatever milk you're using does not have any sugar added to it because nobody wants sweet gravy. So I just whisked that together until the roux and the almond milk had been combined, and then I began to season it up. And I seasoned it with black pepper, salt, garlic powder, ground sage, onion powder, and red pepper flakes. I gave that a whisk until it was smooth, and then I added the mushroom, sausage, and onion mixture back in. I've had sausage gravy over toast before and absolutely loved it the first time I enjoyed it. And when I saw how gorgeous this sourdough bread was, it just made me even more excited to make this meal. Now you can also do this with homemade biscuits, or you can buy store-bought biscuits if you want. But since I didn't plan to eat this more than once this week, I didn't feel the need to make any biscuits from scratch. Normally, I'd put my bread in the toaster, but I decided to kind of change it up a little bit. So I just added some plant-based butter to both sides of the bread, and then I cooked it on the stove. And honestly, this might be my preferred way to toast bread going forward. It was perfect. And once the bread was done, it was time to load this toast up with the delicious mushroom gravy. This meal was 10 out of 10, okay? It was so cozy, it was warming. And please let me know in the comments if you've ever had sausage gravy over toast, or has it always been biscuits? And if it's always been biscuits, please give the toast a try. Sometimes I feel like oatmeal gets a bad rap. People think that it's boring, but I am definitely a member of the oatmeal fan club. And on Tuesday after my workout, I decided that I wanted to make some cinnamon apple protein oats. So I started out by making my cinnamon apples, which I just diced some gala apples and I cooked them on the stove with some maple syrup. I used about 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, and then I added some cinnamon, and I just cooked those down until they were tender. And while those were cooking, in a bowl, I combined my rolled oats and vanilla protein powder. I like to mix these two together before adding them to the milk on the stove. I think it helps with in my experience, it helps with the consistency, and it just makes the oatmeal more smooth. I'm also adding some roughly chopped dates because that's what I'm using to sweeten these oats. So in a pot over low-medium heat, I just brought some almond milk to a simmer. I stirred in those roughly chopped dates, followed by the oats and the protein powder, and I just whisked this together until it was smooth. I added more oats if needed, more milk as needed, just until this reached my desired consistency. And once the protein oats were done cooking on the stove, I just added them to a bowl and I topped them with our cinnamon apples. I also added on some cashew butter, which you could do this with almond butter, sunflower butter. I just had cashew butter in the fridge. And I also added a pinch more of cinnamon and crushed walnuts. This meal was very, very cozy, very fall inspired. It was nutritious, it was satisfying, and really hit the spot. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that a while ago I was posting these oats probably every other day because I've just been on a protein oat kick. Fortunately for me, by making this video, it kind of forced me or encouraged me to switch it up a little bit, which I'm glad I did. And the good thing about some of these meals is that we're using similar ingredients across the breakfast recipes. For example, on Wednesday, I had a very busy morning, so I decided to use some of those apples on top of this amazing yogurt bowl. And typically on busy mornings, a smoothie or a protein shake or something I have meal prepped is calling my name. But this day, I was really excited for this yogurt bowl. So I just took some yogurt, I combined it with some cinnamon, maple syrup, and a bit of vanilla extract. The yogurt I'm using is unflavored, which is why I wanted to doctor it up a bit. And when I went to serve this, I enjoyed it, as I mentioned, with those cinnamon apples from the day before, along with some granola and dried cranberries. And if you want to make this higher protein, you can use a high protein yogurt, or you can just sprinkle in some protein powder to the yogurt. This was quick, easy, and delicious. Now, Thursday was another cozy day for me, and I had a ton of veggies left in the fridge, still after my meal prep for lunch and dinner, so I decided to put those over some grits. Sounds amazing, right? Yes, it does, and it was. I used yellow onions, some mini sweet peppers, and I really love using these mini sweet peppers, especially with like air fried okra. It is so good. Okay, back to this meal. I also added some of those baby bella mushrooms that we use, some garlic cloves, tomatoes, and shredded some dino kale. This is a really good clean out the fridge type of breakfast and a good way to use up some of the produce that you have on hand before it goes bad. I started out by sauteing the onions and peppers, and once those were tender, I added in sliced mushrooms, the garlic, and the tomatoes. I seasoned those with salt and black pepper, and I just sauteed them until they were tender. Next, I added in the kale and some tomato paste. Now, I don't always do or add tomato paste, but I thought, why not? But ultimately, I wanted this to be rich and saucy over the grits, so I also added in some vegetable broth and vegan butter, and I just let that simmer while I made my grits. For the grits, I typically either use a vegetable broth or a dairy-free milk as the base. Today I went with vegetable broth and I just whisked in those grits. This would also be delicious with polenta, and one day I honestly want to try doing quinoa grits. Let me know in the comments, please, if I should try quinoa grits out, if you've tried it, if you've enjoyed it. I would love to know your thoughts, especially before I decide to give it a try. I also went in with some vegan butter, salt and black pepper, and then dairy-free milk as needed just to thin it out. I originally wanted cheese grits, but I forgot to pick up some plant-based cheese for the week, so I just tossed in some nutritional yeast once the grits finish cooking. And I know there's a huge debate over sugar or salt in your grits. Honestly, I am team both. It just depends on my mood. What team are you? Are you team sugar or are you team salt and pepper? Or are you team both, like I am when it comes to grits? Once everything finished cooking, it was time to plate. So this meal was exactly what I needed this day. It had so much flavor, so many veggies. It truly felt like a hug in a bowl, and really all the things you need for a cozy breakfast meal. All right, we made it to the end of the week. It is Friday. My husband worked from home this day, so I wanted to create a breakfast that we both would enjoy. So I decided to make us pumpkin French toast. And normally I'm not a pumpkin girl, but I did want to give it a try. So to a bowl, I added almond milk and some pumpkin puree. The trick to making vegan French toast is to use cornstarch in the milk mixture to help thicken it. It really changes the game, okay? Trust me on this. Trust me. I've been doing this for years. I also added cinnamon and coconut sugar. Y'all, I'm telling you, this hits every single time. Now, if you do decide to use sourdough bread like I'm doing, it needs to be days old sourdough bread so that it holds up when you dip it in the milk mixture. And I also like to squeeze some of that excess milk mixture from the bread so that the bread isn't just like drowning and droopy when we go to cook it. Because I have found that if that is the case, the center is just mushy and we don't want that. This would be much easier in a nonstick skillet, but because I am just committed to this stainless steel pan life, I'm just gonna make it work. If you do use a stainless steel pan to make this, you'll wanna make sure you don't try to flip the French toast too soon, because until the pan is ready for you to flip it, this bread isn't going anywhere. I had to cook these on each side for about 3 to 5 minutes, and that's really when they were ready to flip. For the toppings, I decided I wanted to use up more of the yogurt from our yogurt bowl. To that yogurt, I also added some cinnamon, vanilla extract, and a drizzle of maple syrup because, again, the yogurt is plain and unsweetened and we need to add some flavor to it. And once the French toast was ready, it was time to plate it up. So I just drizzled some of that yogurt on top. I added some crushed walnuts as well as maple syrup. And I'll be honest, before this French toast right here, I was a member of the Pumpkin Hater Club. But you know what? This French toast might have changed my mind. And that, my friends, is what we call growth. And in the event you want to recreate these meals at home, you can find the full grocery list and recipes in the description box. You can also use my code ShakaylaFelice10 and get $10 off your first 2 orders of $35 on Instacart for 60 days starting October 16th. We have one more episode in the series. Please let me know in the comments what you want to see for this final episode of my Soups, Stews, and Something Cozy series. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will for sure see you back here next week.